What is up, Edison duelists? This is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, coming at you guys on this very fine Monday with some more shameless hype beast Gigavise content. Now, we are entering a new era in the Gigavise community. For a long time, we were almost defined by our absolute gatekeeping of deck lists. We weren't sharing deck lists. We were keeping everything close to the chest, and after a couple of the videos last week, I think it's fair to say that we have left that behind us. So, with these very good standard public lists available both from UTW Orlando, from Chess Prime 1, and if I could so humbly add, from myself, there needs to be somewhere to push the deck further. And it seems like the next question we have to answer for ourselves is this card here, Future Fusion, is this card worth including? I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet. I think it needs more testing. So what I have for you guys here today is a couple of matches where the cards in the Future Fusion engine, which is just Gaia in the extra deck, an Alius in the main deck, and a copy of Future Fusion. I don't want to play anything else. Maybe I do need to play something else. Maybe that's the problem. So further testing is definitely going to be required, but I wanted to share these games with you just so we could, really start the conversation of is it worth playing Future Fusion. Now, this first game also has a very critical puzzle, so make sure you're paying close attention. This will be an opportunity for you to test your Gigavise skills. So take in the game state, and I'll let you know when we're going to have our puzzle. So here, it looks like we're up against Blackwings. Our opponent has definitely opened a little bit subpar, and we have a fantastic Future Fusion and Super Solar combo, along with a Heavy Storm, so I'm feeling pretty confident going into this game one. Our opponent is going to start off by just setting the clue and setting the Icarus attack, and then we are going to get the go-ahead draw into Hidden Armory, which is, well, that's just about as good as it gets. So here we're definitely seeing the power of Future Fusion. It's just another card that's going to make Super Solar Nutrient live. If this was like another trap, this would honestly be a pretty mediocre hand. But because we do have the Future Fusion, we are in great shape. So we're going to Future Fusion, get our tokens to the field, then out our deck a little. Hidden Armory, we do mill Lonefire off the Hidden Armory. It's not going to matter here. I think it's always a shame when you mill a Lonefire when you don't need it, but what can you do? We'll Super Solar to get our Lonefire up into our Gigaplant, give Gigaplant a Supervise, and then here I do think that it is going to be correct to make a Power Tool Dragon. We have that Mark of the Rose in our hand. I also just want to be extending further into a little more damage. I want to have the scariest board possible against this Bird Duelist here. We are going to reveal 3 off of Power Tool Dragon, and believe it or not, 66% is going to round up into 100, and we are going to get the Supervise. Here we're going to bring back Lonefire Blossom and get Titanial. Now this is extra good because we do still have that floating token, so that Titanial is very, very live. And then we are just going to attack. We'll attack with the Titanial, just in case he has Gores. I don't think the extra 500 points of damage is going to be super, super relevant. So we are going to get in for 46, set our Raigeki break, and pass it back to our opponent, who is going to draw a Solemn Judgment. That is going to be absolutely no help, so he is going to scoop it up and send us into game 2. And now here, I am actually going to do the rare move of uncovering the chat, because this is very important. This is really going to show off really the source of our puzzle. So sometimes you can learn a lot of things by just reading your opponent, and he's being a very good sport, wishing us GG well play even after the first game. Very, very nice. And then we are going to game 2, where once again we are going second. And we have drawn a very nice hand with Lonefire Blossom. Our opponent says good luck for game 2. He is going to draw into Kalut and just set a value. We're going to hit him with that U2 dog. And now our opponent is in fact going to say, as we draw a second hidden armory here, and then upstart into a lightning vortex, he is going to say, "Do not call me that way though." I don't mean anything by dog, so I say, why not? It is a term of the utmost respect, which of course it is. If you are my dog, you are my ride or die. I got you, bro. You know what I mean? And our opponent says, "I mean, I know it's an American thing, and you seem very sympathetic." Aw, how nice, folks. "I love your deck. I like you." Hey, that's really nice. "But it's not a language we tend to use in Europe." Sorry again. So this is actually the puzzle, folks. Pause the video, take a moment, think about what we've seen from his gameplay and now what he's saying in chat here. And the question that you need to answer is, what nationality is our opponent? So pause the video, take a few seconds, see if you can figure it out. Put your guess down in the comments. We'll see if you're right. And let me show you my guess here. I am actually going to guess if he is French. That is going to be my guess. I think my opponent is from France. And believe it or not, I'm right. So this just again shows how important it is to be able to make these kind of reads when you're playing a deck called Gigavise. I know we saw the Gladiator Beast deck, and reading that Mirror Force was really, really important. And here we are once again able to make a successful read and see that our opponent is in fact French. So let's go ahead and get on with the game. This time, we have drawn the Neos Alius, so that is a little bit of a brick. And this is definitely the downside to running the hero package with Future Fusion, is sometimes you're going to draw this card, and it is just not helpful at all. Fortunately, we do have Lonefire Blossom and Supervise, so, you know, even if you're drawing this brick, it's not like a Copy Plant or a Titanial, where it can, like, directly impede your ability to play, but it certainly isn't helping either way. Here, because he does have this back row, and I don't have any good answers to it, I am just going to go ahead and normal summon the Neos Alius and run it out. I think this could be, you know, one of the small upsides of Neos Alius is that, hey, you know, this is a card that you can kind of use to try and help chew through opponent's back row. And our opponent in this case is going to just run right over the Neos Alius, normal summoning a Sirocco and punching over it for 100 points of damage. That Sirocco is going to help that Vayu get live, so we are definitely in a bit of a pinch here. We are going to draw into an Upstart Goblin, which we are going to fire, and we do draw the second Lonefire, so now I'm thinking, okay, we have some more options to try and chew through the back row. I have the Hidden Armory for follow-up, so I can just go ahead and try and play anyways. I am concerned about like Icarus attack in the back row, so I'm thinking Titanial is going to be a great first move. Kind of go into Titanial, see what our opponent does, see how he handles it, and then maybe next turn we can try and win with Lonefire Blossom. So here we are just going to go right ahead and attack with the Titanial. We are going to get our opponent to use a Kalute. So always happy to see one card down. In this case, we're just trading the Lonefire Blossom for the Kalute, which is a 1-for-1 trade that I am happy to make. When we have Lonefire Supervise here, if we can get down to a very, very simplified game state, Lonefire Supervise is just going to be an easy path to victory. So here our opponent is going to draw the Board the Spear and then attack us for 37, passing it back to us. And we are now going to draw a Nettles, not super helpful. I am just going to go ahead and Lightning Vortex so I don't die on the next turn. And then we are going to run out the Lonefire Blossom into Gigaplant, equip Gigaplant with Supervise. And then Gigaplant is going to go ahead and bring back a Titanial. Our opponent did ask in the chat what our target for Gigaplant was, and you know, we inform him that we are not having to declare a target. Gigaplant doesn't target, so that tells me that he has Crow, so I don't want to make a synchro play and get blown out by DD Crow. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a Titanial and swing in for 24. And unfortunately, our opponent does have a Mirror Force, so we are just going to be left with a Gigaplant. But he does have the Crow, so even the Gigaplant is something that we're not going to get. So we'll pass back to our opponent. He is going to bring out that Armed Wing, And then with that Colute that he drew for turn, he is just going to be able to swing in for a game. So very nice with that Mirror Force there. You know, maybe Stardust Dragon could have been okay to make, even playing into the Crow. You know, I would have lost the Gigaplant, but I would have been able to negate the Mirror Force and live there. But ultimately, you know, I think I was reading that he had like an Icarus. I didn't see the Mirror Force. So, you know, we were able to read that he was French, but we weren't able to read the Mirror Force. Anyways, we're going to go right into game 3 against our Blackwing opponent here. And we are going to draw, you know, all right, Super Solar plus Dandy. That's pretty good. And we have a Supervise to boot, hit an Armory with some follow-up, and a Mirror Force as well. So the trick for us now is just going to be getting those tokens onto the field efficiently to trigger Super Solar Nutrient. I am going to decide to just set the Dandelion here and then set the Mirror Force as well. So I want my opponent to maybe attack over it with Shura, and then attack with like the Vayu or the Gale that he brings out, and then I'll Mirror Force. That'll keep Icarus attack targets off the field. So this feels pretty strong to me. Unfortunately, our opponent does have the Mirror Force, which is not so good for us. He is just going to go right ahead and Shura over the Dandelion and get out the Vayu, just like we predicted. The Vayu is going to kill a token, but we do still have the 1 token left. So Super Solar Nutrient is live, and our opponent is just setting 1 and passing. So here we're going to think carefully. We are going to fire the Super Solar Nutrient, and our opponent is going to Solemn Judgment that, which is definitely unfortunate for us. We're going to go ahead and use the Hidden Armory to find our way to a DDR. And then we're going to use the second Hidden Armory, and here we hit a Lonefire Blossom Mill, and that really matters. That is just about as good as it gets. We'll get a second Mark of the Rose to our hand. It doesn't really matter. We're going to discard it with DDR anyways. And then here we are going to Mark of the Rose that Lonefire to get it banished and steal the Shura. Now, our opponent does have a DD Crow, but if he banished the Lonefire, we wouldn't have been able to use the Mark of the Rose, but it would still be live for DDR. So good disciplined hold on the part of our opponent. And then here we are just going to go ahead and Lonefire Blossom into another Lonefire Blossom into Gigaplant. And then we are going to give Gigaplant the Supervise and then go into Lonefire, which gets us to Titanial. I want to be playing around DD Crow after getting blown out by it last game, so I know it's something that our opponent could have. So I decide not to play into it. We are going to attack over the Vayu first with the Gigaplant. Even if he has Colute, he is not going to be able to stop it because he did pay half his life points with Solemn Judgment. That is going to be enough damage for a game. So first match here against this Blackwing opponent, the Future Fusion was really, really good game 1. The Neos Alius was super mid game 2. Not something we wanted to see. So jury is still out on the Future Fusion package. Let's jump into our second match. This is going to be against the Forg deck. Our opponent has opened a pretty unfortunate hand with Flip-Flop Frog and Gores and nothing really else. So he is just going to go ahead and set the Flip-Flop Frog and pass it back to us. We are going to draw a fantastic hand here, having Foolish Burial to turn on Miracle Fertilizer. That's going to bring back the Lonefire Blossom. Lonefire is going to get us Lonefire. And here we are going to go into Gigaplant, give Gigaplant the Supervise, bring out Lonefire, and then here, quick question, quick little pop quiz. What would you go for here, given that your hand is Mark of the Rose, Trap Dust Shoot, and Nettles? Is it time for a Power Tool Dragon, or is it just a directly into Titanial kind of situation? You also don't know what your opponent is playing at this point. And folks, I am going to go ahead and decide to go for Power Tool Dragon here. 66% is going to round up into 100%, so we're going to get the Titanial anyways, and I'd be very happy to see a DDR as well with this hand. Trap Dust Shoot is going to keep us from losing, and a DDR would be perfect to discard this Nettles and pair with the Mark of the Rose. So we are going to go for our little roll, and no surprise to anyone, folks, we do hit the Supervise. So we can just go ahead, equip it to Gigaplant, bring out a Lonefire, and this one gets us a Titanial. We're going to proceed into the battle phase, and then here we'll attack first with the Gigaplant. Our opponent is going to reveal the Flip-Flop Frog, and, with a deck like Frogs, I think usually you're going to want to remove the Titanial, but given he has a pretty underwhelming hand here, I think he is very wise to elect to get the Gigaplant off the field. Gigaplant is going to be the biggest comeback potential. And then we are going to swing into both and get hit with the Gores. We are going to be able to trap Dust Shoot the Substitute that our opponent draws for turn, which is going to do a pretty good job shutting him out of the game. And unfortunately for our opponent, with this Moray, these 2 pots, and the salvage, he is just going to brick. You know, I got to take a second to say here, everyone wants to talk about how much Gigavise bricks, but, you know, Forgs absolutely has the same kind of potential to, like, brick on your power spells that need something to get going. I feel like I haven't played the Forg deck, but it definitely has just as much potential to brick as Gigavise. And this whole Gigavise is the brickiest deck in the world narrative, it needs to end. Gigavise can brick. It absolutely can brick. I'm not going to deny that. But, like, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! This is a card game. Every deck can brick. Grow up. Anyways, our opponent is going to crash the token into Titanial to clear the Titanial, and then run over the Power Tool Dragon, and it just passes it back to us. And here we just have the very simple Mark of the Rose, Steal Gores, Normal Summon Nettles, and walk in for game. So, game 2, let's see what we have here. As I'm sure you can guess, we are going to see a little bit of Future Fusion action in this game. We have also drawn into one of the DD Crows that we've sided into. This card is really fantastic against Forgs. Initially, I was like, okay, I'm always going to hold this for the Fishborg. But actually, I found that DD Crow on Pot of Avarice can be the most devastating thing against Forgs. So, these days, I'm trying to hold my DD Crows for Pot of Avarice. Sometimes, you know, you have a read that you need to hit the Fishborg Blaster right away as well. Sometimes you even want to hit a Treeborn Frog with DD Crow, but it's very flexible. It's the best graveyard interaction because it is a quick effect, so we're happy to see it in our hand. Here, our opponent is going first, and he has a slightly better hand than last time. He's going to go ahead and set that Torrential, and then set the Treeborn Frog, pass it back to us. Here, you know, the Future Fusion is nice to see, but we don't really have anything to pair with it to make this like a definite game-winning combo. But we are going to go ahead and fire the Future Fusion. When you're playing this card, you want to use it immediately. You don't want to be holding it for maybe a better spot, because the longer you hold it, the more chances you have to draw Alius. And if you've been holding Future Fusion and then you draw into an Alius, nothing feels worse than that, guys. I just can't tell you how bad that feels. So we are just going to go ahead, and I know he's against Forgs. He's a Frog player, so I'm thinking that actually here, going ahead and going for the Future Fusion to get the tokens, and then Lonefire into Titanial, actually. Like I'm playing Amaryllis, this big double Lonefire Titanial board. That seems really strong. But you know what's stronger is this Torrential Tribute that our opponent is going to flip on us. So that's all we've got, but, you know, I've got Future Fusion bringing out a Gaia in the future, which I'm feeling good about. I actually really like that. I've found just, like, having the threat of another body coming on board in a little bit is really relevant. Really, really relevant, folks, and it's definitely something that can come up. But we are just going to go ahead and Gold Sark to find a Miracle Fertilizer. That's going to be something that we're going to need to get these Lonefire Blossoms back on, and then we are going to just set our Chalice and pass it back to our opponent. I really, really like Chalice against Forgs. Hitting Substitute with Chalice is just such a turn ender for them. So I do think Chalice is a really fantastic card. It can also help break a dupe block. So definitely something that I think is worth siding against Forgs. Also, of course, Vanity's Fiend turns it off. The Morphing Jar #2 nonsense, Chalice is really good into. But I digress. Our opponent is just going to bring back the Treeborn Frog and then set one back row. He doesn't really have anything to do. We're going to have 1 out of 2 turns on both Future Fusion and Miracle Fertilizer. And then here, you know, I have the Chalice, I have the T-Roar. I'm just kind of thinking, okay, well, let's either get him to waste this back row with this Nettles, or let's get the Treeborn Frog off the board and then our opponent can't bring it back. So I'm content to make this push. If the Nettles also manages to live, that's going to be really good for us. It's going to give us a little more to do next turn. And we are going to set the Threatening Roar and pass it off to our opponent. He is going to be fortunate enough to draw a Substitute, which must feel really good. And then he is going to go ahead and fire the Giant Trunade. And in response, we'll use our Threatening Roar, and then in response to that, he is going to go ahead and Raigeki Break to get rid of the Nettles. So that's perfectly fine with us. We'll get the Future Fusion back in our hand, not really going to be a relevant card, and we'll also get the Chalice back. That is going to be a relevant card. Here, he's going to go ahead and Substitute into Swap Frog, into another Swap Frog, setting up his graveyard, and go through all the dupe lock, or the 2 dupe frogs, and then finding the flip-flop frog, and then he'll do the second Swap Frog into the dupe frog. So I think he's feeling like, okay, this is a fine place to end. He is going to fire the Pot of Avarice. And folks, this is where you see just how strong DD Crow is. Now, instead of being able to, continue to advance his game, we are just going to have the DD Crow interruption. So our opponent is going to be forced to stop on this relatively passive board. This is absolutely great for us. He'll set that flip-flop frog face down and then pass it off to us. Here we're going to draw a Gigaplant for turn. Not the most helpful draw, but we are getting the Miracle Fertilizer. I'm going to think for a second. We could go ahead and try and put something on the field, but the flip-flop frog is coming to answer it. So instead, we are just going to go ahead and set just the Future Fusion. At this point, I know there's a flip-flop frog, so I'm kind of thinking Chalice might be my answer to that. I don't want to commit the Chalice to the board and then potentially lose it. And he does expect me to have the 1 Future Fusion and then the 1 set. So we're just going to bluff the Future Fusion here. I'm thinking maybe our opponent can, he'll draw an MST or maybe even a Heavy Storm, and he'll want to waste it getting rid of this dead Future Fusion. So even when it's dead, this card still does have applications. 1 face down card, to us, we know it's dead, but to our opponent, that could represent anything. And bluffing is definitely a powerful thing that you want to be doing in this card game. So we're going to give it back to our opponent. He is going to draw into a Moray of Greed. That is a pretty good draw, but unfortunately all 3 Swap Frogs are in the graveyard, so he's not going to be able to substitute to find another one. Instead, he is just going to wall up, move the substitute in defense, and then hope to draw another water for Moray next turn. Here we get just about the best draw you could ask for, a Hidden Armory. So we are going to go right ahead and start playing the game. We're going to use Miracle Fertilizer to get Lonefire Blossom. Lonefire Blossom is going to activate, getting us a Gigaplant. And then we are going to use the Hidden Armory, milling a Dandelion. Things just, the blessings rain down sometimes, folks. We'll get that Supervise back from our graveyard. We'll get 2 tokens. We'll give the Supervise to the Gigaplant. Here we're going to bring out Lonefire Blossom. And Lonefire is going to get us Copy Plant from deck. Copy Plant is going to copy Gigaplant's level 6. And then with those 2 tokens, we are going to make Pop Quiz. What do you make here, folks? That's right, it's Red Dragon Archfiend. This is why I said in the deck profile yesterday, you need this card. It's for situations exactly like this. This 1 card is going to answer his entire board. We're not going to have to worry about the flip-flop frog. It's going to clear the dupe lock. No other cards needed. So this is really fantastic. This wouldn't be able to clear if he had a second dupe frog up. We would have to use the Chalice to negate one of the dupe frogs, but then it would still work. But this really just is a fantastic card. And of course, if we hadn't milled the Dandelion, we would have just used Supervise to bring back Nettles and make the Red Dragon Archfiend that way. But because we did mill the Dandelion, we're able to end on a slightly stronger board. So we are going to Red Dragon Archfiend to destroy all of his monsters. He will get a Swap Frog back with Dupe Frog's effect, but that is totally fine with us. I am feeling very in control of this game, especially because we are setting a Chalice, which should hopefully prevent any type of OTK shenanigans. So we are going to allow our opponent to summon that Treeborn Frog. Here he's going to fire the Moray Greed. These 3 draws are really going to count. He does find Fishborg Blaster, Dandelion, and Death's Frog, which is not going to be enough to answer our board. Even if he found his way into a Substitute or a Salvage or something like that, I think this Chalice would have done a lot to shut him down. So that is the match. I think Future Fusion was really good in that first game. The hero package counted against us, giving us a completely dead draw in Alius in the second game. We didn't see it in the 3rd or 4th game we played, and then here in the 5th game, I think it was just all right. It wasn't great, it wasn't game winning, but it definitely was helpful. So I hope these matches have kind of given you some perspective on Future Fusion and Alias and Gaia and this whole little hero package. I hope you guys try it out. Let me know in the comments if you've been testing it. If you've been testing even a bigger hero package with maybe like a Stratos and a Mali, something like that, let me know about that as well. Let me know if I should try it out. And let's keep innovating Gigavise and pushing it to its absolute limit. This has been Dionysus, aka Young Puds, with another episode of shameless hypebeast Gigavise content. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's any decks or cards you'd like me to show off in replays, let me know down in the comments. Please do subscribe. I'm really hoping to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of the month, and we are well on our way. But if you haven't subscribed already, clicking that subscribe button would be huge. I would really appreciate it. It would help a lot. Smash that friggin' like button, guy. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. And I will see you tomorrow with some more shameless, hype beast, Gigavise content. Take care, everyone.